What if we lived in a world where people were offered awards out of merit rather than due to a popularity contest or out of sentiment for an aging player? What if there was a way to give athletes what they are owed by just considering their productivity on the field and their impact on their team? This list considers who should have won the NFL League MVP but didn't. 2012. The MVP award for the 2012 season went to running back Adrien Peterson, who rushed for over 2,000 yards, scoring 13 total touchdowns. Now, those are some good numbers, but they're not really great. There was another player who actually performed just a little bit better, and that's none other than TB12, Tom Brady. Back then, Brady was 35, still with the Patriots, and had MVP-caliber stats. First, he won more games than Peterson. Brady fittingly had 12, while the running back had 10. Second, Brady had more passing yards, 4,827 passing yards, with a pass completion percentage of 63%, scoring 34 touchdowns. That is 21 more touchdowns than Peterson. What's even more impressive is that Brady only had 8 interceptions on the season, one of the lowest numbers he had in his career. It is evident based on games won, on yardage, and on touchdowns that Tom Brady should have been the MVP that season. 2013. Another season where the vote swung heavily in favor of one person and completely ignored the efforts made by Tom Brady. Brady was second in the MVP voting after posting numbers worthy of MVP consideration. He threw for 4,343 yards, scoring 25 touchdowns from a pass completion percentage of 60.5%. He also won 12 games for his team. He is essentially lifting this entire Patriots team, who had a rookie in Aaron Dobson starting at wide receiver and Julian Edelman, who no one really respected at that time. Brady was throwing it to people who had zero business being NFL worthy, but he made them so because he's got MVP blood running in his veins. He didn't win it that year because Peyton Manning, at the age of 37, had the season of his career. No joke, he threw the ball 659 times for 5,477 yards, scoring a record 55 touchdowns. He had a pass completion percentage of 68.3 to boot and only threw for 10 interceptions. Peyton Manning was the deserving winner. 2014. These awards tend to skew towards the offensive production rather than the defensive ones because it's known that offensive plays are looked upon with greater reverence. In the history of the NFL, only 2 players have won the league MVP. The last player to do so was Lawrence Taylor back in 1986. Well, in 2014, the world was robbed by the voters for not naming J.J. Watt as the league MVP. Watt had an incredible season. In just his 4th season, he managed to get 20.5 sacks on the season, which comes to a little over 1 sack per game. He also recovered 5 fumbles for 59 yards, scoring 1 touchdown, and had 1 interception, which he took for 80 yards, scoring another touchdown. Those stats are enough to make one team look good, let alone one man. He was a one-man defensive machine, the likes of which no one has ever seen since 1986. The award should have definitely gone to J.J. Watt, but instead the voters, as they are prone to do, went with the flashy quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who scored 39 touchdowns and threw for 4,381 yards. 2015. There was truly only one person deserving of this award that year, and that was Cam Newton. His leadership and skill at the quarterback position led his team to 15 victories from 16, as he redefined the position for later generations to adopt. Newton threw the ball well, scoring 35 passing touchdowns and only allowing 10 interceptions. And he ran with the ball quite nicely too, scoring 10 touchdowns. In terms of yardage, Cam Newton had a total of 4,473 yards, of which 636 were on the ground. So you could not begrudge the voters on this one, but as is usually the case, there were other quarterback contenders such as Tom Brady and Carson Palmer. They had a minor claim at the trophy, but this one was truly Cam Newton's that year, and deservedly so. 2016, the tightest race so far for the MVP title, with 3 quarterbacks still gunning for the illustrious trophy. All 3 had a serious claim, and it all depended on the narrative. When a decision needs to be made, the first instinct is to look at the stats. But when 3 nominees dominate different stat categories, people want to give it to the person who has the better story. That's why the award went to Matt Ryan, when it really should have gone to Tom Brady. People will say he only played in 12 games from a possible 16, but in those 12 games, he won 11 of them. He scored 28 touchdowns and only had 2 interceptions. Another reason, besides the lack of games, that Brady didn't get the award was because Matt Ryan, who plays his home games in a dome, was a fresh face whose overbloated stats didn't really matter to reflect his team's performance. Proof? Ryan played 4 more games than Brady and has the same number of wins. A league MVP with just 11 wins from 16 games at the quarterback position isn't saying much about the league, but it says a lot about the PR and marketing departments. They wanted Ryan to have it for the freshness, and once again, Brady was robbed. 2017. The GOAT TB12 had finally won an MVP, but did he really deserve it? Well, it is strange to think that he didn't after winning 13 games from 16 and scoring 32 touchdowns. He threw for 4,577 yards with a pass completion percentage of 66.3, giving away only 8 interceptions. But someone else deserved it that year. A running back by the name of Todd Gurley was robbed. Gurley had a total of 2,093 yards, scoring 13 rushing touchdowns and 6 receiving touchdowns. Those stats are impressive on their own, but the one that elevates Gurley from Brady is the regular season record. The Rams were a 4-win team in 2016, and Gurley, with his dominance, made them into an 11-win team. Brady was always on a well-run team thanks to Belichick, but Gurley had to go through a lot under different coaching regimes and delivered. In 2017, it was a performance that season worthy of being named MVP. 2018. As the seasons go by, this is where we start to lose our skeptical lens and accept what the deciders have thrust on the public in terms of their MVP. This was the Patrick Mahomes year. There was talk of awarding it to Drew Brees, quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. He had an impressive season where he had a pass completion percentage of 74.4%, scoring 32 touchdowns. But those numbers just couldn't compete with Mahomes. The Kansas City Chiefs quarterback scored 52 total touchdowns. He also threw for over 5,000 yards. In his first real season, Mahomes captivated the NFL nation with his dazzling play both with his arm and legs. There is no disputing that he was the deserving MVP candidate that season. 2019. The same can be said about this season, where Lamar Jackson became the unanimous MVP of the league. Everyone voted for Lamar because he was the best player in the entire NFL and also the most valuable. His stats? He started and played 15 games, winning 13 of them. He threw the ball 401 times while generating a pass completion percentage of 66.1%, throwing for 3,127 yards, scoring 36 passing touchdowns. And he only had 9 interceptions. Those stats were brought to you by his arm. On to the legs, Lamar Jackson rushed 176 times for 1,206 yards, scoring 7 touchdowns. Without a doubt, the most deserving of all the MVPs so far in this list. 2020. Finally, a return to controversy. It was a season marred by predictability by the voters who awarded it to someone who of course merits consideration, but wasn't the best player in the league that season. Aaron Rodgers got the MVP award. Both quarterbacks throw a pretty ball, make the players around them better, and help the team win. The only difference is that in 2020, Josh Allen was a mobile quarterback who scored 8 times on the ground. That is the real separation between the two candidates. Both are great and future Hall of Famers, but this season shouldn't have been awarded for classic play at the position, but rather a continuity of evolution. What Mahomes, Jackson, and Allen have can be replicated and even mastered, but not by the likes of Rodgers, which is why Josh Allen should have been named MVP. 2021. Another season where the voters favored the best quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, over the best skilled position player in Cooper Kupp. Kupp had a breakout year, catching 145 balls and having 1,947 receiving yards. He also scored 16 touchdowns. He was the reason why the LA Rams made it to the playoffs, because without him, the Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford had no one to really throw to. The award should have gone to Cooper Kupp because he raised eyebrows and was consistent throughout the season. We all are witnessing what quarterbacks like Rodgers are not able to do without an elite wide receiver. Cooper Kupp is simply that, elite. So who do you think should have gotten the MVPs each year? Who do you feel was robbed? Please let us know in the comments below, but before you go, if you still want to watch some awesome NFL content like this, please watch the next video that will pop on your screen.